Here. You don't know if I think of 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Well, I'm suggesting we do the computer.
Okay, no, it's on. Oh, yes, by the. I think so, yeah, going out to like Settlement. Yep. Yeah, before you go over the bridge, road to the right. If you're gonna go to Amazon, they have a flashing stop sign now. Yeah. Nice. No, it's still running. I
Yeah,
mean, they still run it, but it's nice that they're flashing.
the biggest problem is the people who are stopping, it's the people coming up.
Coming up the hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't change anything for that.
People trying to like do their stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Do something, because some, yeah.
yeah, because we stopped and even us, though, like we were turning out left to come home. From Walmart and the road goes all the way through, that's weird. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want to step on the gas because there's. Oh, there's still.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the groceries. Right in the back.
Been like that for forever.
Yeah, go.
Like it's so weird when you go out. Ask Amazon not to take the road. That have that really sharp turn and when you're coming on it, it's like her not to want to turn.
Yeah.
Right there.
I know, the old way.
I've grown up in the area for so long, but it's so hard not to look. My aunt lives over there too.
Working on
Like, yeah.
I'm gonna be aggressive. Never have the at home game. I gotta get those.
I'm sure there'll be a lot.
You know,
Yeah.
How's your?
There?
Yeah.
There's a lot more candy for them to get outsiders.
You might,
I know.
Yeah, there's a home football game and
Yeah, a lot of kids coming out.
they've already posted it on like the high school page. Like they will not
that's what I was
accept,
gonna check.
the football game's Friday night, 6:45 because it's senior night. And then, we said, you can come in costume, just no masks, no weapons with the costumes, everything.
Yeah.
Because this is helping if it's fake or real.
Right.
And with less football
Yeah.
game, that was.
Mm-hmm. You did cider. Yes, you did it.
Well, we used to do the first day. Boy, it's still, you
Yeah,
guys
it was
busy with
cider.
that.
Mhm.
Well, that's where all the people are asking, well, you really read the balance.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people there, but if you go into Big Monster Hawker,
Yeah.
they're all with the cider.
Yeah.
Like cider testing week, the big tables, that place was full. Is this something about it? Yes, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Jurors 2026 Budget Committee meeting, Tuesday, October 20th, 2025, at 7 p.m. We are calling this meeting to order. The received rise, we pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
You have a draft agenda, which staff created. But the budget committee is empowered to do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it. If there's something on there you don't want, something on there that you do want, let's talk about it. Let's change the agenda. Motion in order to adopt the agenda would be in order.
I just have a question real quick. For 5, it says elected chair and secretary. Thought we did that last.
This is the new year. We're talking about a new budget committee.
So
We've
with
got new
that's what I was-
members. No motion to adopt the agenda.
All motion to adopt agenda.
Oh,
Now
but
it is. Now it is.
don't push
Are
button.
they, oh, that's nice. I motion to adopt the agenda.
Second. Second. Why don't you press buttons?
I should just turn it off now. It's opposite.
No, it's just, I might have to press.
All those in favor of adopting the agenda as drafted?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Thank you. My name's Rick. I'm the city manager / city recorder. In January, the council will appoint somebody to be the budget officer for the year. And that's part of the cycle. But until they appoint somebody to be the budget officer, I serve in that capacity. And I suspect they will appoint me because it's in my job description when they hire me. But again, the council can do what's right, council can do what's wrong, council can do whatever they want to do. I would appreciate I would appreciate us going around the table, keeping in mind I'm the new kid on the block. And if people would just introduce themselves, just so we hear their voice and hear how they pronounce their name, for the benefit of the audience and the record. I'd ask Councilor Gould if he would just state his name and his position, and we work our way around the table.
James Gould, City Council.
Brian Wagner, Mayor.
Liz Wright, President, City Council. Amy Skinner, Budget Committee.
Becky Newton, budget committee. Petra Wright, city council.
Lisa Stravens, Budget Committee. Audrey Dennis, City Council.
Kathy Harvey, Budget Committee.
Jesse Geddes, City Council.
Jeremiah Platt, Budget Committee.
And I'm Rick Holmbaum, and I'm the city manager / recorder. It is a new year. We have a new committee, and our first order of official business is electing a chair and a secretary. I want to talk about the secretary position just briefly. The reason why we have a secretary is not because that position takes notes, because we take care of that. But the budget committee meets so rarely that having a designated member of your body to review the staff work and to sign off on the minutes makes it an easier flow, so we can publish the minutes and share the minutes after we have meetings. So that's why the secretary role is to read the minutes that have been prepared by staff. And essentially you're electing somebody empowered to speak on your behalf to approve the minutes at a later date. So that's why we elect a secretary. We also need to elect a chair, president, but we need to elect a chair. So I'm opening the floor for nominations for chair.
These will just be the committee members, correct?
It can be anybody. Typically, it's good to have a citizen, but it can be anybody.
see if she can get that.
I don't believe in.
And good luck. We'll start with that. You can get to a secretary, you said, anybody can come from the chair.
I didn't see anything.
You didn't get to say no.
I'll nominate Jeremiah.
I would respectfully decline. Only because this is my first time on this committee and first day, so. Who was the chair last year?
Amy.
Oh, but now you're the secretary. Or going to be, likely. Does anybody have an interest in wanting to be the chair?
No one wants to. What is the chair do?
Preside at the meetings.
In case they're the one there, for the budget meetings.
I'll volunteer.
It needs to be a member of the committee.
Sorry.
Well, didn't I thought I applied for that.
You applied, but if I remember right, you were also not here when we actually took the list.
Oh,
Was that night?
sorry.
Sorry. It would be nice to have one of the residents do it possible. I mean, if we have counselors, we have mayors already. Would that year they said you'll to do it.
She knows so much.
No, I'm just because your experience and knowledge is big on anyone on the council.
Extra thing to show to more meetings.
Correct.
It's the same, no, you're here anyway, it's just basically,
Correct.
no,
No, you run
you're
the-
already here, you just basically play Brian,
Yes,
adjourning,
correct.
convening,
That's it.
that's it.
I'll do most of the time.
Okay, just sign me up. I need to get over. Let's move on.
I nominate Elizabeth Wright for chair.
Second.
And I nominate Amy Skinner for secretary.
Second.
My second.
You need to say all in favor?
You could,
All in favor of the slate as spoken, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed that want to volunteer? Very good. Okay, this meeting was set up at the last budget committee meeting. At the bottom of the page of the agenda, I shared the motion that was made April 28th at your last budget committee meeting. It was fairly well common knowledge that the 25-26 budget was done without having a complete inventory of data and statistics. So that's why we're here tonight to talk about that. I would ask you to turn to page 2, where it talks about pre-meeting topics for budget committee discussions. Oregon Public Meeting Law is a pretty strict process, but it's a strict process so that it is open to public input. The whole idea of having a written process required by law to have conversations about public money is so that the field is flat and open to anybody to participate. As a part of those rules by Oregon State budget law, we have limitations about what we can and cannot speak about, which is what page 2 is about. Now, essentially, the easiest ground rule to remember is that we really should not have conversations about a future program or the amount of funding for a future budget. If we stick to where we're at, we stick to our past, and we even stick to a topic about wanting to have more police officers. Many of you wander across the lane into having conversations, suggesting things prior to the introduction of the 26-27 budget. That's where we sort of fall off the rails. So I share this with you and ask at your own convenience that you review it. But really, as long as we stay out of specific estimates or appropriations amounts associated with any fund or line item, resource, or equipment. So really, it's about talking about next year's budget before I bring it. Don't do that. That's the no-no. But general conversations, discussions. Tonight, the primary focus, I believe, the reason why we are having this meeting is to talk about figures that the budget committee did not have in April when they had to write, approve the budget. Any questions about pre-meeting topics or concerns? The next page of the book has all of your names and the length of and the ending dates of your term of service. The following page talks about budget changes after adoption. Not going to spend a lot of time on this because I don't think we're quite ready to go there, but some simple tasks as it relates to how to change a budget after it's been adopted. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff that is of reference to you. Following that, you have a peach page, which is the actual budget. You have a blank peach page to look at, then you have the budget. That is the actual printed budget of the year we're in right now. 25-26. This is what was the result of your work. What was approved, adopted. There were very few changes. In fact, I couldn't even tell you what they are between what the budget committee approved and what the council adopted. And what the changes were minor and based upon new information. But this, if you look at one of the pages that has a graph, you'll see the columns on the right-hand side. I'm on page 30 of the budget. If you look at the three columns on the right-hand side, first column is what was proposed by the budget officer, whoever wrote your budget last year. The second column on the right is what the budget committee approved. And the third column, the far right column, is what the council adopted. And there are very few changes there. And I'm thinking there's two, and I'm sorry, I don't know what they were. But I wanted all of you to have a copy of the budget because we'll be talking about it. So this is a copy, and these notebooks are for you to use throughout the budget process.
These for us to take home.
Yes.
Mhm.
After that, my expectation, unless the budget committee decides otherwise, is that our next meeting will be in April when I present the budget for 26-27. At this point in time, let me be very, very clear about this. At this point in time, the only change that I am looking to do in this year's budget this fiscal year is to take money from one fund and loan it to another fund, so the general fund does not end up in the red at the end of the budget year. We can borrow money from other funds. It takes a council resolution. But the only significant change that I am planning to take, unless budget committee takes other action, is to move funds from one fund to another, so we don't have another year in which a fund ends the year in the red. And we'll talk about our finance report and stuff after we allow for some public input. But there's the introduction, and I'll move forward after we allow for public input. Oregon Public Budget Law is very specific and requires public input. It's a public process. It's the reason why we have to advertise meetings in advance. It's the reason why we publish summaries of budget after you are done with it, before the council approves it. But we need to allow an opportunity for the public to share their input as it relates to our budget. So at this time, Madam Chair, I would request that you ask if there's any public input, and if anybody wishes to speak to the budget committee. And if they do, it'd be better if they came up here and used this mic.
At this time, we will open for public comment.
Couple talking about, but you get the recording, just tell me. I don't really have a question as far as this that you put together. It looks really well. But one of the things that came up when I was still mayor that I really would like you to consider is that you're having this meeting based on the recommendations from the council before pre. And one of the things that came up a lot was that if monies had to be borrowed from another account and transferred during a year, which is legal and it's done legally, if it's a significant amount for a project of some kind or something comes up as an emergency, I always wanted the budget committee to be notified and at least to be aware that there was that change being made before they found out at the next budget committee. And sometimes we get in there and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we voted on this. Well, there was a contingency and we had to move it, but they're just now finding out. And if we're going to respect you as budget committee people and making these decisions, then we need to respect you, let you know when those changes come up prior to the next time. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you. I like that. That's practice.
Keith Gillen, 283rd Street from Purvis. I just have a question for Rick. So obviously you've looked at it. What funds are you taking it from and where are you putting it to?
I anticipate requesting, though I don't expect to do it till the first of the year, January or February agenda. But I anticipate that we'll be taking money and borrowing from wastewater system development charge fund and putting it in the general fund.
So if I'm reading this correctly, we still don't have the final numbers for our budget. Is that what this is saying? The CPA hasn't finished it yet, so we really don't know the final budget?
That memo's about a month old, and I am going to share figures with you once we move on from public input.
Oh, okay, well, I thought because it was in here.
I understand, that's my fault for not putting a date on it.
Okay.
That's when I started. That was the condition when I started.
Thank you.
The mic's off in the corner, so can they hear us?
His mic is on.
Okay.
Our mics are.
Oh, RV, your mic is on. No question?
Any other public input? Hearing none, Madam Chair, I'd like to move on.
We do.
So, so let's talk to the meat. Thank you, Kathy. In the front cover of your notebook, you should see a organizational chart inside the front cover. And right behind that organizational chart, you should find this foldout.
Oh, thank you.
There's a couple of qualifiers on this report, but this report is the most complete data report we have as it relates to finances. What's important is the dates at the top of the page, because I provided from the same date of every year, the end of the year, what the carryover was, what the year ended with. So essentially, the first column is our status on June 30, 2021. That is from completed audit. Our second column is from June 30, 2022. Our third column is from June of 2023. Our next column is of June 2024. That is the audit that we are finishing up on right now as we speak. I'm hoping it's printed by Thanksgiving. The top goal. The next column is June 30, 2025, which is unaudited figures from finance reports, internal. And then, because of the purpose of this meeting, I believe, was for you to look at where we are in this fiscal year, as well as where the budget said we are. In the far right column is what it says our budget is. So I'm just talking about the two major columns on the right now. The column that says 6/30/25 is where we started this financial year at for 25-26. Where our budget said we started the year at is the next column to the right. So in other words, when the budget got adopted, we had the expectation that on July 1, 3 months ago, we had $300,000 in the general fund. The finance report says that on July 1 or June 30th, 2025, we were in the red in the general fund by $393,566. Now, I believe the general purpose of having this meeting was to have a conversation about what the budgeted figures were, how close the budget was to, shall we say, reality. I would say one disclaimer is the American Rescue figure in that second column in 2025. We know that figure is incorrect. One of our weak areas in our financial tracking has been that grant. We know that figure is not correct. I'm afraid I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you that we know it's not correct based upon where we're at. I'm sorry.
We know what it's due.
I wasn't even started yet. This hasn't even been started yet. We'll be at 2024 reconciled by Thanksgiving. We haven't started 2025. Right, so he's hoping to get 2024 done by Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you. Sometime in April of 2024, we cross from the black into the red. Sometime during the month of April 2024. So even though we budgeted to have money in the general fund in the 25-26 budget, we don't. So looking at the two columns on the right, you see what we put in the budget on the far right. Then I gave you the page number, you can find it in the budget. And then the next column to the left is where staff believes we are based upon finance reports, unaudited figures. Now, what I did at the very bottom, some of my chicken scratch, is the bottom printed by the computer was the total of the column. And in handwritten, right below it, is the balance of our two accounts. So if you look at where we think we are in 2025, June 30, 2025, which would have been 3 months ago, July 1st, July, August, September. Okay. So, you know, the total of our columns is 3.2 million based upon our finance reports. Our total based upon what was in our two accounts is 3.9. And if you look at the previous year for 2024, I did the same thing. The bottom of our columns based upon our estimate is 3.5, and the amount that was actually in our two accounts based upon looking at the paperwork for it is 4.1. And in the far back pocket of your notebook, you have a copy of the June finance bank accounts reflecting those figures. I gave you a page of June. Now, most of our funds are kept at a place called the Local Government Investment Pool. This is a fund that is run by the Secretary of State, State Treasurer. It's run by the State Treasurer. Almost every single city in the state uses them because what it does, it prevents cities having to play with the stock market and all that kind of stuff. It takes the unknown out of the equation. The State Treasurer runs it. Our money is put there. The state's money is put there. It's something that all of us use. And so typically, good business practice has been that a majority of your money is in that where it gets the most interest possible. And then you keep somewhere in the ballpark of 300,000 or less, depending upon the amount of your activity within your checking account. Then if you need money, keep in mind, we get all our tax money in October, November. So we'll have $1 million come in October, November from people paying property tax. But we need that money throughout the year. We don't need it in our checking account in October. So what we have is our funds are all in the local government investment pool and in our local checking account. And most of it, of course, is in the investment pool. So you have just data. That's all it is, just information about the last June of 2025 and June of 2024. So walking our way through this master chart of where we're at, the most obvious thing you'll notice, of course, is our general fund, where we budgeted to start the year at 300,000. And I believe we actually started the year about 400,000 in the red. Kathy, am I getting to your question about what we know and don't know?
Somewhat.
So working our way down, you have what is in the budget on your far right column. Look at the state street tax fund. We budgeted, we start the year with 430, and I believe we actually started the year with 617.
$1,000 per dollar,
Thousand.
which is
Our water fund, we budgeted, we would start with 300,000, and I believe we actually started with 487,000.
Are these like a year off or something? I mean, from what we budgeted,
Well, keep in mind, when you did the budget, you didn't know where you stood financially.
yeah,
You had people, good people, trying their best to get a budget document done for 25, 26, based upon the data they had from 23, because 23 is the last time an audit got done.
Okay.
So, you know, we thought we budgeted it, we started the year with 850,000 in sewer, and I think we actually started with 926. Now, the sewer funds are the ones that are the most unreliable because of the ARPA project. Because often money was paid from wastewater and then money from ARPA was put back in to replace it. Often those transfers were done through, I would say, not normal operating procedures based upon the staff that was here during that particular time. Storm drainage, we thought we started the year with 20,000, and I think we did with 84. So anyway, you can go down the list here and you'll see your highs and your lows. Typically, the people that created the budget budgeted conservatively. Keep in mind, I went to Woodward High, not Jervis. You know, they did the prudent thing based upon the information they have. But if you work your way down, the other red, this is the first time I've ever seen a budget to start the year in the red, since it's illegal to end the year in the red. The 4th of July fund. You actually budgeted to start the year in the red. That's a little unusual. It did go into the red in 2024, the 4th of July fund. But typically budget writers don't plan to start the year in the red. They plan to have funds in the black, because the Secretary of State is going to ding the city for the times in which we spent more than what was appropriated, and for the times that we ended a year with a fund in the red rather than a black. And I anticipate that we will, when our audit is printed and published, we will have 30 days to create a plan and adopt a plan and promise never to do it again in the form of a council resolution and a letter to the Secretary of State's office for our little boo-boo. So our 30-day count will start when the 23-24 audit is done. And I expect for 23-24, it's going to be two funds, the general fund and the fireworks fund. Don't know why. I can't tell you why. That's just what we do. So I really don't know if you really want to go through each line here, but it should, I'm hoping that you can relate that the second column in is where I think we were on the first of this year. And the first column in is what we budgeted to start the year with. We budgeted to start the year, the 23-26 budget. We actually started the year with what we had in the bank or in the, on paper on June 30 of last year. Any questions about that process or thinking?
Any other question?
Please.
So it looks like from the budget standpoint, we're in a better position than we thought we were, but we don't know because we have to wait for the audits now. Like.
We're better where we thought we are, with the exception of the general fund.
It's basically saying all our other funds are on track.
Well,
I know, but when you look at the
Except for
bank
that one.
account numbers, but if all of this whole thing is totaled up to that amount, the bank account say with this amount, we'll still be in trouble with the state. But if the audit shows that we still have extra money, we just put it in the wrong fund. That's why you say you're gonna borrow money. So it's not as dire as it
No.
seems.
other than the fact that our police department is totally funded out of general
Right.
fund, and the general fund is significantly in the red.
Got
We need to
It
address that. Essentially, all these funds, all your funds are listed
Right.
here on the sheets. Well, essentially, you have 26 budgets.
Yeah.
And there are limitations as to where you can and cannot move money.
Right.
You can't spend water money that people have paid for water somewhere else besides for the water fund. Same with sewer. So, system development charges, I should say a word about SDCs. Unfortunately, for your sake, I know too much about that one, because I've been around long enough. SDCs is not connection fees. SDCs is impact fees that we charge for a new building that is using existing infrastructure. If you build a new, well, you've built two, we built one. You've got a new water tank, reasonably new water tank. It costs 500,000. It costs about 500,000. We create a plan, a capital improvement plan prior to building that tank. We cost that out. And then we cost it out per undeveloped lot. So the math is done of the existing people paying this percent and the empty lots paying this percent. And then when somebody comes along and builds their nice house or apartment on that empty lot, they are charged that water SDC fee towards that tank that you have built. So only things that are listed in the capital improvement plan for the water fund is allowed expenses for the water system development charge. Despite the fact that there is 600,000 in the sewer SDC, and we may borrow from the sewer SDC to help our general fund, we need to do a resolution about the payback of that money. Saying we'll set aside a certain amount every year and we'll transfer the money back. So we have this money. We have okay money. I think you're fine. We don't need to panic. We just need to plan. That is my professional opinion. Did I answer your question, Counselor? Adequately.
Yes.
Counselor Geddes, do you have questions?
Yeah, just one. I'm really confused about the American Rescue Plan Fund thing.
I was just gonna
Because
ask, what is that?
You said we know the math is wrong. Well, why do we think it's $1 million wrong? We thought we're gonna have 132, 266. Well, that's what you think we're gonna end at. But you anticipate us being 960,000 in the red. I'm just really confused with those two numbers, where that money went.
And what is that?
It's the-
We're talking about the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah,
That was a wastewater treatment plant project. That was all the money we spent on the wastewater treatment plant which totaled 1 point what?
Or I want to say.
I think that project was 1.4 mil. Now, what we have is not a good paper trail as to when we accessed, when we paid it, and we are still chasing the paper trail to rectify that number. That's about the best I can explain.
So basically you're saying we're expecting it to be in the red because we don't know where the money came from.
We think that it is not in the red to that degree because we think it had to get balanced out by last year because of the deadline to spend the money, but the paperwork to recognize that on the books has not been done.
But you anticipate to be that bad. But that's what I'm confused by, because I thought this category was what you anticipate. The 6/30/2025.
6/30/2025 is from finance reports that we have. So I guess you consider an estimation. But it is from our CPA.
So our CPA is giving us this number, 960,740. Our CPA gave us this number, this figure?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a consulting CPA. We pay her well. I really have no problem paying her concerning what she's going through for us. But, and this is a perfect example, it took her 7 hours to reconcile the bank recs for July of 2024. We pay her $225 an hour. So to reconcile our banks, because our bank account has not been reconciled for more than 2 years prior to her work. If we're spending a lot of money for the outside consultant, which I don't know, it's a necessary pain, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I don't think there's any complaint that she's doing. I guess if I would assume when you have a discrepancy that's $1 million, it'd be like more ideas of why that is, like
A high
more
priority.
content. Yeah, well, just like some of these, I went through all of them. I mean, we're off by 3,000, 65,000, 64,000, 294 kind of on one. But that's the next closest one is $294,000. What's off $1 million?
Well, it's just the two budget. It's not the actual audit though.
But this is what she anticipates with their figures.
Well, the far right is the budget. If you're comparing it to the far right column, that's what you folks wrote your budget on.
Right, but even with what's reconciled, what's reconciled, what we expect to have at the end of August, or November, sorry, Thanksgiving, is a positive 132. And then we go to negative 960. That's over $1 million.
Well, my question regarding that earlier, what I was trying to get at for that, it was gonna be done by the skip, is the fact that I'm looking at two different numbers here. You got the wastewater up top, it says 926,000. Then you've got the American Red Pine was 960. So my question really is there gonna be reconciliation where it's actually gonna take that wastewater, since it's probably been put in there anyways, and bring it back down? Where's that where it may have actually went to? Because that one, I know we budgeted for 850, but even the previous years, I know we built new plant, or we built new plant, got it all set up, but we still have the funds coming from the ARP for a lot to do it.
That's still 700,000, not $1 million.
No,
You're right, but it's still not $1 million. I'm just saying there's something that's not making sense with the numbers that are in here from before.
We are diligently working to update and figure this all out. And it has been challenging, both based upon grants and based upon payroll reconciliations.
You know, I don't think anybody should invite the messenger, we're just trying to understand it.
So is that a grant that you get this?
The ARPA was a
that the
one-time
city is
grant.
reimbursed for once the
Yes.
expenditure's made?
But it's
So the
been,
reimbursement hasn't occurred.
no, it has occurred.
Oh, it has occurred.
The books are closed because there's a deadline to have it closed by July 1st deadline.
So this is
When
really
were we
more,
scrambling? When were we scrambling? My predecessor did a request for the last 50,000 of that grant, just based upon a deadline not based upon knowing what it was. There was 50,000 left in the grant. And the guy that was here before me, made the request and got that 50,000 on his way out the door, knowing that that was the amount left that we would ever get, and then we had to pull it by the 1st of July. I can tell you that.
So maybe we change my initial question. When do we think we'll know what happened there? Like what are we talking April next year? We'll actually have an idea of why we have no discrepancy.
I think it's gonna go a lot faster because of the research we've done for the 23-24, and I think we'll know by the end of this calendar year.
Okay, awesome. Love that. Yeah, go ahead.
So
Going to what you said, discussed earlier, what the increase percent, so you're going to look at those numbers and that's the best.
oh yeah,
What you do.
You know, for something different for them. So when you borrow money, I know this is for the future, how do you pay it back? Like, how do you cut spending from the general fund to pay it back?
Budget.
If you already don't have any.
Yeah,
we're talking about a couple things that I've already done. And then we'll have that conversation. Is that okay?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Or if it's a conversation for another time, that's fine too. I'm just curious. I know it's future, so.
I would like to move us past the budget document to the next page. The budget document has page number 76, the next page. Past the budget. Yes. Page about gold. Well, now I'd like to share a few things that I've done, good, bad, or indifferent, since I've been here. I started May 12th. July 1st rolled around and I was told, well, staff's waiting to hear what's going to happen to the COLA this year. I don't know what happened to the COLA last year. Anyway, what you have here is a memo I wrote as it relates to cost of living increase for the staff. I consulted with them. I suggested and recommended to them. They all agreed not to accept a COLA, not to have a COLA, but to change the city's policy, which we went to council and got permission to do, so that this city of Jervis pays the 6% PERS, 6% public employee retirement percentage that is considered the employee share. Now, about 97% of all the cities in the state pay that 6%. Jervis was one of 3 or 4 that I was aware of that did not, and it was hurting us recruiting. Plus, we were paying that 6% for 4 of our employees, didn't have to pay it for 2 of them, and not paying for, how many are left? 6, and not paying for the rest of them. So we were very, very, very inconsistent to our employees as to who we paid the PERS part for and did not pay the PERS part for. So no COLAs happened, and instead we changed the city policy where all of our employees now have the city pay their 6% of the employee share of PERS. And that sort of gives you a breakout of how that reasoning or lack of it happened for your review. On our next page, getting to the point about affecting the general fund, I found a lot of things that were being coded. The secret to this business is how do you code the bills? Where in the budget do you put and charge a bill to? found where we paid for the street sweeper out of the general fund for the last year and a half to a tune of $60,000. Not exactly a general fund expense. You can call it overhead, you can call it waste, you can call it administrative fees. There are two basic models to use to fund the administrative oversight of your organization. One of them is based on the concept of our franchise agreements, where somebody, a cable company or somebody that wants to use our right of way, 7% of their revenue, they pay the city as a franchise fee. So one model is that the amount that each fund has, 5, 6, or 7%, is funded to the general fund in order to support the general fund, and the fact that we do payroll for every department. We do finance for every department. And we do legal stuff for every department. So that's one model. Another model is to make determinations based upon administrative expenses that should be charged to more departments than just general fund. This is what I have done since I've been here as it relates to how things are charged. And if you look at the split, the top part of the split involves different funds in the general fund. The bottom part of the split involves things not of the general fund. My salary and my benefits are paid by this formula from these funds. 28's out of the general fund based upon those 28% out of those, that top part of that chart. 5% is out of the street, 35% is out of water, 30% is out of sewer, 2% is out of storm drain. So we have the 100% to fund my position and my benefits. Our finance officer isn't currently, but is going to this same way methodology of doing it. What I am doing is lessening or spreading out the cost of administrative oversight beyond just the general fund. Now I actually changed water and wastewater 35, 30, 30 to 35 from previous times because I'm going to be spending more time on our future water projects and less time on the sewer project that we just got done. So that is a reverse from what was previously established. So your budget person tries to determine what expenses need to be spread out. Hopefully we can lessen the impact to the general fund by being more careful and considerate as to the expenses that run everybody. I mean, how do you have a water department without an office? How do you have a water department without software? How do you have a water department without computers? So this is the methodology that I've already started doing and will continue to do. And you'll see that when I propose next year's budget. So again, this is for your information, and the next page is email. I'm guessing July, maybe August, from our CPA. My guess is July, which shares the level of knowledge that she has as of that point in time as to our condition. Again, this is just, I'm trying to paint a picture here. I like taking numbers and painting a portrait. I'm trying to provide the budget committee with an understanding of what our snapshot and time is and things that we need to be aware of and things we need to consider as we move forward. We can't change what happened. But hopefully with better planning and a little more forethought and more stronger connectivity between actual expenses and costs and revenue, we can get there. The next page, which has a whole bunch of my handwriting all over it, was really the first page of the draft audit that I received, just so I had a snapshot as it related to things that are going on. And so, if you look at our total expenditures, we budgeted the general fund, this is general fund, 1.491752. We budgeted to spend that amount. We actually spent 1582620. And when you look at the amount of money we spent versus the amount that we actually received, we spent 406,000 more than we received in the general fund. Again, these figures have changed slightly if you look at the bottom line versus what's in the big chart, about 1,000 if I remember right. But this was the first written indication that we had of our position, financial situation. So the next couple pages involve a little bit more detailed data. From the 24-25, this is not 23-24, this is 24-25. From our finance reports, we budgeted to spend 60,000 in professional services, and we spent 292,000. And this is in professional services. The key is the codes on the far left as it relates to 510, 511, 546. That column tells you what fund that happened in. 510 is general fund. So these are our weak areas. For reasons past and understanding, we under budgeted what it would cost for our city recorder throughout the year. I don't know why, but we under budgeted for what expenses would be. The next set, we under budgeted across the board for payroll taxes. And again, these are the high things. So some of this is just based upon how well you look at your personnel costs as it relates to doing budgeting. But our PERS expenses, so they went both ways. But anyway, this is data. What's the next one? From top to bottom, if you look at the page, is all one big box. If you look at the page, that is one large page like this. This ranks from top to bottom where we were off the furthest as it relates to our budget and expenses.
This is what we showed the negatives, yeah, but it is a positive somewhere that we still have. No, he said he's ranking them, so is
This is the rank. This is for the most expensive, 232,000 more spent.
no, I got that part. These are all negative though. Is there anything was under budget?
There are some areas, but these are the older ones.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
There's 3 pages ranked in order. And I printed a page in any bit. Again, information, data, happy to share.
Why do we not have the ones that are under budget on here?
I actually don't know.
Because it, I mean,
It would help to have balance.
well, yeah, I mean, if we missed out allocate on the budget, that would kind of show that, but since we don't have anything that was under budget here, it's hard to say if it's misallocated. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next page entitled Axon. I want to share with the budget committee a couple.
That means iPhone.
Want to share a couple expenses that we have recently realized that we didn't know about that are forthcoming. So, one day, a couple months back, I asked our interim police chief what were the boxes that were stacked up underneath the front counter in the police department. And he said, well, that's all the new camera equipment that's not been installed. Camera equipment? Installed where? Well, it's for license plate readers for the police cars. Okay. Not having recalled seeing any funding or budget for it. Dug into a little bit deeper. They did send us an invoice. I think they've sent us 3 invoices, all to an active email within our organization. All that got deleted based upon the belief that it was advertising. None of them made it to the city hall office. But we have evidently a 5-year agreement. The sum total of $134,000 if you read the bottom line on that page. 1/5 of it paid each January, starting January of this calendar year, which we have not yet paid, for equipment. Now, this was 2 separate packages. It was the tasers and the body cams. We are using the tasers and the body cams as a part of this Axon agreement, and have been using ever since I got it. Now, what's still in the boxes are vehicle cameras and license plate cameras, which have never been installed, which takes outside work. Initially, and what I have been attempting to do is negotiate with them, despite the fact that we have a contract. If I send it back, could we get some of our money back that we haven't paid yet? Not doing too well there. They've offered a little bit, but not much. We don't have an internal decision or the staff to make the right decision as to whether or not we actually need that equipment or not. I get various opinions, but we don't have the skill set to make an informed decision on that other equipment. But we do have a 5-year total of $134,000 debt that was not budgeted for, not listed for, and we have not paid for. Councilor Guinness.
I'm really not trying to point fingers here. That's not my intent. My question really is who authorized this contract? Is the person who, and more importantly, the person who signed the contract have authority to sign it? Is really my question.
I don't know what kind of authority Mr. West had.
So the chief police, the chief police can just decide to spend the city's money without converting the council?
I wasn't here when it, I don't know, sir.
No, I'm asking generally, like, can a chief, because you're the reigning authority on all this, we're all laymen. Can a chief make a contract and obligate the city to do it without approval from the council, is what I'm asking?
That's decided too, right? Yeah.
Because
I don't know that, nor do I know whether or not he got approval from council.
so
I've never had a conversation with him about
this
it.
is where I'm gonna be really rude. If he had to get authorization and he did not, wouldn't that be on him and not the city?
Could be.
Just asking. That's That's a lot of money.
But when was this done?
2021.
West wasn't cheap. Mark Chase was, wasn't
Yeah, true too.
Yeah.
That's true too. I'm not saying it was Wes. I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm just trying to say it wasn't us per se.
Well, if you get a copy of the contract, that'll show. And
Do they know how long these boxes have been hanging around?
Earlier this calendar year.
So let me be here.
I actually don't know that.
Okay, that's okay. I didn't think we knew.
if we can't get them to take the equipment back, and we can't put the bill back to the person that signed the contract, and we sell the equipment that we have left over.
I don't know. I've been dealing with the financial side of this and not the,
Yeah.
I'd just be a way to recoup our money.
Could I ask a question?
I mean,
So if it was get back in 2021, then the boxes just showed up at this year, that doesn't make sense.
it doesn't at all. And I don't think it happened back in 21 because I don't think, when did West become chief?
So it was that Wes. So it's for sure done by Wes.
It arrived when Wes was still on the job, but his 2021 thing.
Those are checks that were written for something else.
Okay, that's why
Yeah.
that's why I was confused. Okay.
But for actually, back then, if I recall correctly, I'm not the person that was here for all that stuff, but I thought we were using some accidents for like lasers.
We are.
Cameras before, so these might be from previous usage, until new contract. Just. throw it out.
Axon is the premium. They're the people who basically do chasers. That's the company.
They make their money on maintenance and
So I guess this is something you can resolve right now. I would be very curious to see what our obligation is if the person who made the contract was not powered. So
Does the company have a record they could provide us with that showed who signed for this or ordered it?
I am still working on this, quite honestly.
Okay,
I'm sharing what I know.
all right.
Running it around.
thank you. I'm not trying to kill messengers, trying to figure out plans.
The last page in this particular section of the notebook is a very multicolored page. Multicolored page is a recent report as to the computers that no longer have support because they are Windows 10 and they are not upgradable. Now, if you look at the colors on the far right of that page, see some are upgradable, some are not upgradable, some don't need to be touched. But there are 7 computers that we own in our cadre of about 26 that need to be replaced. 3 of them I have put as being urgent. The rest are going to wait till next budget year. 3 computers that I anticipate I'll be ordering. I've already got a quote on that. Push the button. Is for our front desk Desiree's work computer, which I think is a 2014 or 17. Desiree Finance 2019. My computer
You still remember that? It's so good.
That's these ones don't even.
mine's a 17.
Yeah, I think so.
General fund expenditures price.
One is a water plant computer. The 3 that we're replacing immediately based upon this report is mine, Desiree, and the water plant.
So which one's on this? I see Desiree's.
Is the water plant on the very bottom one?
Yes,
Okay, and what's yours? Could give it to him here. You see Chambers and he has finance. That's it.
Mine's listed as finance, like,
Perfect,
for
thank
me.
Set one time.
So two, we can put, we have to do in the general fund, but the third one for the water, that can be allocated in their time, is that correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. I like that you're doing that better breakdown. And you're also implementing now to think of reconciliations every month, correct?
So, I think where I'm at this point is providing all the intel that I have. My intent, is not to end the year with the general fund in the red by borrowing money, most likely from sewer SDC fund. I don't see doing massive budget changes. I want to make sure that we get our research done, our finance house in order, and try to play some catch up when we do our finance budget process in spring. We are making other changes as well. There is a resolution on the November council agenda to increase our planning and building and permitting and construction fees. Last done in 2019. What we charge is woefully behind what other cities in our area are charging for permits. So again, this is general fund revenue that we would see an increase. Essentially, we are subsidizing our planning and permitting because we're not collecting the money that we spend. And we spend a lot of money on this because we contract out our planner, we contract out our city engineer. So anything that they need to look at or work on, they're charging us, but we're not charging the parties involved that should be paying for these costs. So there's a resolution. We've been charging a 1% fee on construction permits, and the standard is 5%. That came from our city engineer. We're trying to take other steps as well as it relates to revenue options.
I hate to interrupt you. What about the school district that still owes us almost $90,000?
Well, it's an interesting conversation. It's hard to define what is actually owed. We didn't do a good job of tracking when our staff was there. They didn't do a good job of tracking as to, I think we lacked the ability to go back.
So they don't pay anything?
But we are still looking at the construction excise tax. We made two $40,000 payments for the construction excise tax for projects. And I am questioning whether or not an error was made in overpayment for the construction excise tax. As it relates to the officer thing, I can't document when the staff was there, when they were not there. And they didn't track it. And so right now, I'm not in a position to, I could not stand up in court and say, but while we are going back and relooking at our finances, that is definitely a consideration as it relates to data collection that we are not forgotten.
Will they log their hours? They would log the hours. If that makes sense. For them to like actually go to school for their hours.
I think,
Is how I kind of like understood it.
yeah,
It's hard to, like,
I've heard that as well, and I'm sure that is true. I think the crawl on WAB is, at least from my perspective, it's not binary. It's not like he either was there or not. He definitely spent some
Yeah.
time there. And so whether it's 90,000 or whether it's whatever, it should be zero. And
Right.
that's where,
Yeah.
where we're kind of, a lot of people are frustrated. And I know Rick, you're trying to do your best and I'm fun with the school district right now, so we'll figure it out.
If we do borrow from the SOAR SDC fund, is that okay? Joe, does that keep you guys still in a good functioning position and still with backup available to
We're in a pretty good place. Thank you.
emergencies? Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't leaving you in a bad
I
spot.
appreciate that.
Okay.
On the back of that, if we were to borrow from the fund, what is the timeline for paying it back?
Well, I think we would just create an agreement. You folks borrowed from two funds in 2014. How much you get borrowed? 200,000?
I think it was 300,000 for the water plant, the reservoir upgrade.
You borrowed, you did an interfund loan of either 200,000 or 300,000 and did an annual payback of 50 on an annual basis. And that is getting paid off this year. For some water project in 2014. It was a 10-year agreement. It was a 10-year agreement to pay back. They did 50,000. So it's not the first time we've done it, and using that type of, as long as you do a written resolution and an agreement, it takes care of the auditors and takes care of the funding.
Yeah, I understood that. I just was trying to, because this could be a baby, like how, what you thought the timeline? He says, sounds about decades, what are you thinking?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what you did for the water one.
And if we get situated better, our revenue is better, then we can pay off.
Oh, yeah.
It does not happen.
And it could be a council.
Don't ask that question.
It can happen.
And it could be a council decision as to interest.
Can I address a couple things for Jesse there since you brought it up in the meeting, just to clarify your questions? It's like with the water system, when we built the new tank, basically the long story short was that a lot of new neighborhoods had gone in, the fire department come and said we couldn't put out a fire on that one existing tank. And so we did all the research, built the new tank, and then it was like the old tank had not been resurfaced or repainted. And that's what that inner loan was for, was to repaint the existing water tank. We couldn't do that until the new one was up and running to handle the water so we could drain the other one. So that's where that money comes. And then the other thing you asked was, can the police department just write their own ticket basically for finances? And it's like, it's a chain of command. It's like Rick, has contacted all of the different departments. They submit what they feel like their budget's gonna be for the year. He talks it over with them, whether it's all justified. Then he brings it to this committee. Whatever you seal the bid on, then that now is what they work with for the year. So if something comes up in the police department that was above and beyond what they wanted budget wise, and maybe they get partial grant or some opportunity or some calamity, or they think they need these cameras or whatever, they can't just write their own ticket. They've got to go back to the city manager, who's their chain of command, and say, okay, we need this. He's going to bring it back to the council, say, okay, it wasn't on the budget, but they're proposing this. Do you want to move forward with it? Do you want to stick to the budget, or where are they going to get the money from? Is it a grant? So it's all the chain of command.
Thank you. Madam Chair and Board, that concludes my prepared remarks. Happy to have a conversation with you. Happy to have until deliberations, which is on the next time on your agenda. Happy to do my best to either answer questions or write down questions. But I have shared what is known and a little bit about what is unknown. And that's where I am as your CFO.
Well, I just want to clarify and make sure I'm understanding this appropriately, because the last two city managers have basically said that we need to be open and willing to do a supplemental budget. I think that's why we wanted to not just see the final numbers, but see what we need to do ourselves. Or is it now up to council or up to you?
If the budget committee feels that we need to do a supplemental budget, I would suggest you pass a motion recommending to council that we do supplemental budget. I'm saying that based upon where we are with funding, changing the budget isn't going to really take care of our situation other than loaning the funds. But that's just my professional opinion. But, I work for the council, and if you want to do a supplemental budget, make a motion or guidance or ask the council to do one.
But with you switching or doing this long from our other thing, we don't need to do something.
I don't see a reason to do a supplemental budget.
Yes.
So essentially, the transfer would be considered a supplemental. It's one form of a supplemental budget. But I'm not looking to change all the funds. I'm not looking to, the thing that matters as it comes to the audit is the total of the fund, not a particular line. So I don't see a reason to do a supplemental budget. I do see a reason to settle our accounts by borrowing some funds, making sure none of them end up in the red.
So, you had said earlier that the next meeting would be in April. But you also said the audit's supposed to be done by what, the end of the year?
Yes.
So are we gonna get that information what happens?
I will definitely send out the information, and if the budget committee wants to gather in January or February, that's definitely an opportunity.
So that's up to the budget committee.
Yes, it is. The budget committee can meet whenever they wish to meet. How many times they want, and what hours they set.
Well,
Oh,
it
and
seemed like
so, and I'm sorry, but you brought up my pet peeve.
which is,
Every year, some budget committee member comes to me and says they wish they had more time to spend on the budget. And my response to that is the budget committee can meet as many times as they want. But a budget committee member was not able to convince the committee to meet as a whole, so they don't meet, and they come to me expecting me to fix it. Pet peeve, I'll be honest. A budget committee can meet as often as they wish. They can call a meeting and make sure I get it posted, advertised, and if you folks want me to set a early winter committee meeting when we have the 23-24 audit, that would definitely be well within your purview. And we're
well,
going
it
to take a
seemed like there's
motion.
gonna be some questions at that point.
That's fine. So let's plan on gathering after the 23-24 audit is completed. With the
Yeah.
direction of the committee.
But we still have all the same questions until 24-25 was done.
Once it's done, come back. You make a motion for that?
I'm fine.
Do we need to make a motion for that?
No, I've heard a general consensus from the majority of the board. That's all that I've listened to. Again, Madam Chair, that's all I have for the evening, but I'm happy to continue any kind of discussion that the committee wishes.
Can I have more questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rick. For the presentation.
Well, the whole reason we actually had this meeting is we usually have numbers at the beginning of the year. And it sounds like we still don't have enough, that's why I do agree, being again, to finally be able to answer the questions that people really have.
But we won't. I guess what I'm confused is the whole point is having real numbers, but we'll have numbers from a year before. We will still have real numbers. So what's the point of meeting to having a huge 1-year question mark again until the 25 budget's done? Because you're just taking a longer period of question mark and then a short period of question mark. It's not going to change anything until we actually have the actual numbers. Like I don't see what the point of meeting again until we have all of it.
Well, that's just it, we can discuss previous budgets, and future budget, just can't discuss the future one.
I will send out the audit when it's done and suggest an evening to meet and listen to the members as to whether or not they want to meet. You got Something else you want to say, Doc?
You're expecting to make the request for the transfer in January, as I said.
January, February.
I know you said it was a rough time right now, but think finally get some, headway or final answers on the excellent thing.
Yeah.
Contract.
And we already know our numbers for administration are gonna be much lower these years, correct?
We are striving to
Anticipating.
do more with less.
Okay. I was gonna like, kind of my biggest question was, so far this month, we've stayed on budget with everything. Or this year, correct, within our monthly budgets, with the general fund.
I can say yes to the first 2 months. I don't have September data. July and August, yes. Read the post for it.
We're on a good start.
We're on this one.
Okay. You go. Byron? I know you've been working on this.
On the computers, I know you said you wanted to place 3 of them right away. But the other ones still will be used, I know they shouldn't be used.
They can be used, but we don't want to store anything on there that is not copied somewhere else. Majority of them are police computers. The police people have 2 computers, one in their vehicle, one here. And it's desk ones here that are failing. So they can still work on here. They just gotta make sure that they copy it onto their car computer, which is not.
Secondary thing, because all the ones that you eventually want to replace, you still, monetarily wise, you still could pay Microsoft $30 per computer to get security updates as a Band-Aid until you are able to replace them.
Okay. Thank you.
Suggestion. You know, I had the old IBM in there,
Oh.
but since I'm only here once a week, this newer computer, I'm gonna take that one and give it to everybody else right now.
Thank you. Okay, offer.
Please.
Anything else the committee wishes?
Just a housekeeping question. Do we take these with us so we have them the next time we meet? I mean, that was common practice in other places I've been.
So I can put them in for.
We'll keep them. I'll be ready for you.
Otherwise, you're redoing them over and over.
No, we'll keep them. We'll have them ready.
All right, if anybody doesn't have any more questions, we will adjourn then.
Thank you all.
We're adjourning at 8:20.
I'm gonna put my business cards up here on the table.
You know where I.
Email's the best way. Well, go ahead, Doc. Put those cards up here. With email.